And the question that we are answering tonight is, why don't Christians share the gospel? That's our title. That's what we're answering. And this is about how Jesus is talking about how as believers we're called to be, as we're going to read in a second, the salt and the light of the earth. If you've never heard that before, you're like, what the heck does that mean? Well, don't worry, we're going to talk about it. And as we go through this text, it's just a couple verses, but it's very powerful. Because I'm going to give many reasons why Christians may not share the gospel, but I'm also going to provide a lot of reasons why we should. I mean, we have every possible reason we should. And so I want you guys to walk away tonight with a sense of urgency to share the gospel with people within your circle of influence. But before that, I want to tell a little story. Do any of you guys like Asian buffet restaurants? Dude, they are good. Has anyone been to a ginger buffet in Fairview Heights? A lot of us? No, like ginger Chinese buffet. Yeah, no, you're not eating gingers for a buffet. That'd be weird. Poor Keenan. I would, so me, Mariano, Skylar, and a bunch of other like adults here that you guys know, we were at Ginger's Buffet one day for lunch, and one of the desserts they have there is ice cream. And for some reason, I don't know why, but Skylar just asked me, hey Aiden, do you want me to go get you some ice cream? And I'm like, sure, I would love some. Thank you, Skylar. So they had like those little machines where it had like chocolate, vanilla, and twist. They had those little cones. So you basically get it yourself because it's, a buffet. But she gave it to me, and it looked kind of sus, if I'm going to be completely honest. It looked kind of sus because it was just like, she didn't like lift it and drop it as you normally would when you fill an ice cream cone. It was just kind of glopped all over the place. I was like, okay, well, it's ice cream. I'll still eat it. I don't care. And then as I started getting into it, it tasted a little funny. It started to taste a little spicy. And I'm like, maybe it's just because like it's really cold and it's just overwhelming my taste buds and my teeth or something like that. And I'm still like eating this ice cream, and I was just laughing over on the other side of the table, and I'm like, why are you laughing? She's like, no reason why. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really spicy. And then when I got to the bottom of the cone, there's just like a bunch of like red powder in it. And I was like, did you put spice? Really heavy spice in my ice cream? She's like, yes, duh, that's why it's so spicy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Skylar, for putting spice in my ice cream. And my ice cream was ruined forever. But then, yeah, I ate most of it, and I still didn't notice. I don't understand how. But the reason I tell that story is, whenever we see, or maybe if you, oh, bless you. Maybe if you're eating ice cream and you taste spice in it, that's not right, obviously. Ice cream is supposed to taste sweet, not spicy. But just like, hey, are we guys, there's a lot of side conversations happening, a lot of flirting happening on this side of the room. Okay. But just like how salt in the ice cream, it's very distinct, isn't it? But also maybe if you put salt in the ice cream, that'd be pretty distinct also, right? But to compare, that's also how we should be as Christians in the world, because, we don't share the gospel. A lot of us just kind of live in our sheltered spaces, not really reaching out far past our bubble, telling the good news of Jesus to those who don't know him yet. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think are some reasons why Christians don't share the gospel? Just raise your hand and tell me different reasons why. Lorelai? Embarrassed? Okay. Haley? Yeah, rejection. Charlotte?
They might like me.
What did you say? Oh wait, that Charlotte or Bell. I'll get to you in a second. Charlotte or Bell? Persecution, and then this Charlotte?
Yeah, like getting like rejected, like also like getting your religion mocked and stuff like that.
Yeah, so rejection again, and then Hunter?
Fear.
Fear, and then Liam? Yeah, lack of knowledge, basically. Lakin? Never done it before. There's a lack of experience comes to play into it. Yeah, these are all very common reasons why Christians don't share the gospel. Other reasons are like maybe they just don't care. Like maybe you're in here and you're a Christian, but you don't really care about sharing the gospel. Or maybe you're afraid of being judged by other people based on what you believe and what you share. Or maybe, like Liam said, you have a lack of knowledge or a lack of maturity or experience. You've never done it before. Or you don't value others enough. You feel inadequate. Or you're afraid of persecution. Or you're... Something that I've noticed with Gen Z is that you guys like to get really passionate about things. Right? But sometimes we get selectively passive. It's not passive. Passionate about things. Like we'll get passionate about video games or about football or about whatever the girls are into. What do you say? Okay. Okay. Listen up. We get passionate about those things, but then when it comes to the most important things in life, such as the gospel, that passion just fades away. The problem we're addressing tonight is that Christians tend to base their lives off of fear, pride, and insecurity. Those are the three, I would say, main reasons why we don't share the gospel. And as we read this text tonight, Jesus is going to answer for us, what is the function of a Christian? If you were to define what a Christian's job is, this is the perfect description of it. So we're in Matthew 5, verse 13. I'm going to go ahead and read the full text here. It says, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt should lose its taste, how can it be made salty? It's no longer good for anything but to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world, a city situated on a hill that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, but rather puts it on a lampstand, and it gives light for all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." So let's take a look at verse 13 with this first point. It's about what is the main function of a Christian. Point number one is to preserve the world. To preserve the world. So taking a look back at the last part of Jesus' sermon, because right now we're in this big sermon that Jesus is preaching to thousands of people called the Sermon on the Mount. It's his most famous message that he ever preached. And last time he blessed everyone who was some sort of social reject or lived in poverty, things like that. And this was likely misinterpreted by people who were active members of society. People who maybe had more money, or people who were sort of middle class-ish in Jewish society. And they probably thought, wow, Jesus says it's so blessed to be separated from the world. I'm going to go off and live with just my family and go off the grid, build a log cabin, and be like that one guy on YouTube who builds underground water slides and stuff. That's an incorrect perspective to have, because Jesus is about to clarify that we are all called to be active members of society. However, as we participate in society, we don't conform to the ways of this world, like Romans 12 says. We don't act like non-believers do. We're to be different. We're to be salt and light into the world. So to talk about this first example, this first illustration sort of that Jesus gives is we're the salt of the earth. And before I talk more about what that means, he means the whole world, meaning there's not a single part of the world that we are not called to share the gospel with others. Everywhere we go, we're supposed to witness. But we don't do this. What happens is that we lose our saltiness. Can salt, is it physically possible for salt to lose its flavor? I hear a mix of yeses and nos. It's actually not. It's not. So if you just take salt on its own, which I'm going to take some of my supplies here for an illustration. So in this water bottle, I got some rock salt.
Yay!
Yeah, yay rock salt.
Can we eat it?
I'm not going to eat it. So salt, physiologically, it can lose its flavor, but it becomes useless if it gets mixed with other substances. Do you guys know what salt is used for? Besides flavoring. Who said preservation? Okay, yeah, preservation. That was salt's main function back in ancient Israel. Preservation. They used salt as a preservative before they had refrigerators back then. That would be centuries and centuries before we had stuff to keep things cold. And what it specifically does is they cover the meat or food with salt. And what the salt does, it sucks the water out of the food cells so that any bacteria can't get in there and make the food rot. Now it becomes very dry. Obviously, who's had like really salty steak before? It's kind of doesn't feel as moist. Yeah, it's kind of disgusting. But in the same way, just as salt is meant to preserve food, we are meant to kind of suck away the sinfulness of the world so that we can buy its people more time to hear the gospel. By sharing the gospel, you're moving sin out of the way and making space for God to work in the hearts of believers. That's what it means to be the salt of the earth. So, here's rock salt. If it was ground up, I grabbed this straight from a salt shaker. If I ground it up, it would be perfect for preserving food. But maybe I mixed it with something like Swiss Miss. There's no water. There's no liquid yet. And I just took this powder. I hope I don't make a huge mess here. Okay, there we go. Try to make an opening. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Okay, that's enough. And then maybe I take the, I'm going to put this, where am I going to put this? I'm going to put this back here. And then I put the cap back on, and then I just... Can this still preserve food?
Yes.
Sort of. It sort of can. Yeah, it'd be very chocolatey. That's kind of gross. But what if I took some ranch salad dressing and seasoning mix? Oh, that's a strong smell. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I should have done this over the bowl. I'm not going to eat it. Gross.
He's ruined it.
Jeez. Oh gosh, it's all over the table too. And then I put the cap back on, and then I just it's everywhere. Can this still preserve food? It technically still can, but definitely not nearly as well as it could have before.
Yeah, with the chocolate.
But finally,
Oh,
if I poured Coke in it, I'm not giving something Coke. Oh no. One moment. There we go. This is a lot more safe. There's no way I'm drinking this. Oh, it smells, dude. And I just... No, you can't have the rest of the Coke. That's nasty, bro. Oh, the rest of the Coke. Not that. Alright. Okay, can this still preserve food? Absolutely not. You cannot preserve food with this anymore. If you pour this on food, it would rot. It would be disgusting. So, all right. So, why did I do that? I'm going to explain why. All right, let's log back in, guys. Let's log back in. The only way that salt loses its saltiness is by getting mixed in with other junk, other impurities, things that basically, as the Jews would describe it, defile the salt, make it disgusting, absolutely just miserable and gross. We are the salt of the earth, but when we mix ourselves with impurities like sin, fear, pride, or insecurity, we defile ourselves. And because of that, we make our function as Christians way less effective. I'll show you later how God can still use you with all these impurities, but the lesson is we need to live pure and righteous lives in order to be fully effective for God's kingdom. God doesn't expect perfection, but there is a standard that we as Christians need to strive to live up to as the salt of the earth and also as the light of the world. The next part of verse 13 that I want to hit on is where it says, it's no longer good for anything but to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. This is Jesus is not talking about a salvation issue. It means that believers who don't witness to others are simply admitting defeat to fear. By doing that, you're making Christianity a doormat to the world. The gospel is not represented well because we stay silent every day. In fact, Satan's plan for the church is to silence us so much that all that we hear and all the world hears is just lies straight from Satan and never anything about Jesus. But I believe that for every Christian in this room, it doesn't matter what you've done, no matter how much you've mixed up yourself with impurities, if you truly face your fears and share the gospel, God will help you do it. He is faithful. He responds to us when we put our faith in him. He responds to you just as surely as he did when you called upon his name for the very first time. when you gave your life to him. He will respond just as much as he did then to your faith as he will now if you cry out to him in faith. His natural response to you will be to lovingly help you, because I know you guys. I know that you guys have good intentions for the world. And God knows that you have good intentions for this world. He knows that you want to do good. Therefore, if you guys just take the leap of faith, and you will not lose. Being rejected, that is not a loss at all. Yes, it may hurt. Yes, it may hurt for people to judge you or reject you or think differently of you. But guys, in comparison to the victory found in your simple obedience and that people just heard the gospel message, there's no loss. There's no loss in sharing the gospel. That is the real victory. And so, as we preserve the earth, we have our other job as well, which is to shine in the darkness. That is my second point for tonight. Shine in the darkness. Question for you guys. What does light do?
It reveals things.
It makes it go.
What?
It
helps us what?
It blinds you.
See, right?
It blinds
So
you.
back then, a city on a hill was built to serve as an easily visible place of refuge for people. When travelers, whenever travel was not easy back then. They didn't have cars. Not as many people had horses. No one had their e-scooters or whatever they're inventing these days. No one had longboards or bikes. They simply had to walk. 90% of people had to walk everywhere. So when travelers would be on their last leg, they would have hope, because they would see a city on a hill way in the distance, and they'd know, wow, there's a city. And there's shelter, there's food, there's water, there's somewhere to sleep. Just as a city on a hill is meant to be a place of refuge for wanderers, we are meant to be a beacon of hope for the lost and the disconnected. If you are a city on a hill, can you hide a city on a hill very easily? Yeah, no, you can't. You can't just put a giant curtain over a city and just be like, oh, I wonder where the city went. No, it's still gonna be there, obviously. And that would be ridiculous because it's in the most obvious spot possible. That would be like telling everyone to turn off their lights and just pretend like it's not there. That's ridiculous. Bro, the city's still there. But it's also ridiculous to hide a light that is meant to shine out. You use light to find something, right? So if I turned off the lights here, no one scream, don't be immature. What did I just say? And I'm looking around this stage here, and I'm trying to find something. And I'm trying to look around, and I can't find anything because I don't have a light. Am I going to find what I'm looking for?
Yes.
No, either no or yes, but it's going to take a very long time to find it. But if I use a flashlight, if I use some sort of light source, and I shine it around the darkness, will I find it a lot easier? Yes. We turn that off. Watch. Okay. It's going to be extremely hard to find that object, or maybe that person that I'm looking for, if I cover my light up. If I turned on my flashlight and I covered it like this, what's that doing? Literally nothing. And then imagine, another example is, imagine you're in this giant dark mansion. And you're holding this lamp. It's a fire lamp. And there's a bunch of people that you know in this mansion. But they don't have a lamp. Their lamp is not lit. They don't have anything to light it with. So they're lost. Being spiritually lost is just as hopeless as wandering around in pitch black dark. So these people that are in this mansion with you, these people that are wandering around in the darkness, the people that are within your circle of gospel influence, they're counting on you. They're counting on you to shine your light around the mansion and find them. And not only find them, but light their lamp as well. And yes, God can give these people chance after chance after chance to come to know Christ. But guys, just because you're 11, 12, or 13 years old, that doesn't mean that God can't use you to reach people in your generation or even outside of your generation. We have limited time on this earth. We have limited time with the people that we love. We have limited time with the people that we even pass by. You might be the only Bible in someone's life. You might be the only Christ-like influence in someone's life. So what are you doing with that chance to get the experience? What are you doing with that chance to share the gospel? And that's the application that I want you guys to take from this. If the lost people in your life are counting on you to shine your light unto them, you are the light of the world, a city situated on a hill that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, but rather on a lampstand. It gives light for all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light what? Shine before others. But what's stopping us? That's my third point. What is stopping Christians from sharing the gospel? In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. When non-believers see you live for God, they see a reflection of God himself. This is what may lead them to someday, as the text says, give glory to our Father in heaven. Meaning, they will be led closer to Christ because of your example. And yes, working hard in sports, trying to get good grades, being nice to people, those are all great things. But kind of like what Pastor Doug said this morning, the gospel is more than just being nice to other people. It's more than just behavior modification. It's about heart transformation. You may be thinking, Aiden, I've gotten mixed up in all the wrong things lately. I've got impurities in my life. You just don't understand, man. God cannot use me as salt and light. Let me tell you, that is not the right mindset to have. Grab a couple more things here. Not drinking it. Nasty. Dude, it still smells up here, by the way. It's really gross. I'm going to have to spray some Febreze up here or something. To finish up, we got this nasty concoction of salt, and ranch seasoning mix, Swiss Miss, Coke. Dude, it is pungent up here. It is nasty. But guys, God can still purify you. He can make you pure. He can make you effective for the gospel. There's not, because I poured Coke, the salt dissolved a little bit, but there's still some salt left at the top. There's still some left. But if I pour it into this strainer, oh wait, the salt's still left. There's still a lot of salt left. And so, you let all the impurities out. There's still salt left. God can still use this. God can still use you. It doesn't matter what impurities that you've got mixed up in. Yes, he can use you while you're impure, but God can work so much more through you if you let him do the work of purification in your life. You are still usable, and you're still valuable to God. Here are the top 3 reasons why we don't share the gospel. Fear. We're afraid of judgment. We fear failure. We think that people who hear us won't care. We're afraid of persecution. Or maybe there's pride in your life. Maybe you simply just don't care. I've been there before where I simply didn't care. Where I thought that I was better than other people simply because I knew what was right and wrong, but I didn't practice it. Maybe you don't value others enough. Maybe you've got a lot of self-righteousness in your heart. By self-righteousness, I mean you think you're okay with God because of the things that you do. It's not how righteousness works. Or maybe you look at someone and you say, this person is too far gone, God. They've messed up too much. Why even try? Why even try with me, even, if I'm just this JHM student? That is not the attitude that we should have. Or maybe you're dealing with insecurity. Maybe you're feeling inadequate, like you're not good enough. Or maybe you like to pick and choose about what you like to confront people about. You pick and choose what you get passionate about. You pick and choose what's actually important to you, rather than letting what should be important to you be your priority. But guys, here's some reasons why you should come to Christ today. Number 1, we're not promised tomorrow. The Bible says that we are nothing but a mist in the air that is there for 1 second and then gone the next. The Bible also says that we're like a flower that's there, it grows up, and then after a little while, it just withers away forever. We are not promised tomorrow. You may die tomorrow. I know that's a very extreme thing to say, but it's true. We are not guaranteed tomorrow. God's mercy lasts 1,000 generations, but guys, God does have a patience that runs out. But he wants you, and then here's another reason why you should come to Christ today, because God has called you by name to be his son or his daughter. Are you with me, boys?
Yes.
You sure? What's one reason why we should come to Christ today? Just say it. Yeah, not promised. Also, God is calling you to a relationship with him. And also, another reason why. Nothing you do has meaning without Christ. Yes, like, maybe you may be a non-Christian and you run some sort of animal shelter and you're doing good in the world. But without Christ, what is this? What is your animal shelter? Paul says that, he may preach, he may share God's truth with everyone, he may share the gospel, but if he doesn't do it out of love, he's nothing. He's nothing but a noisy gong clanging over and over and over again, just making a bunch of noise. That's what we are if we don't put God's purpose behind everything that we do. There's a ton more reasons why we should give our lives to Christ today. But guys, there's a ton of reasons why the person that God has placed in your life to share the gospel with, There's a ton of reasons why they should give their life to Christ today. In fact, they should do it yesterday. Also, I'm going to give one more reason why. It's because their situation as a sinner, as an enemy of God, is severe. Like the coming wrath and judgment upon them simply because they have sinned against a holy, mighty God that weighs on them. But Jesus, and this is the gospel. If you're here tonight, you've never heard the gospel message before. You've never heard what Jesus is all about. I'm going to tell you. Jesus lifted and took away judgment and wrath for all of humanity. But you have to accept the gift of salvation. Yes, God created the universe, and he designed us for perfect relationship with him. And everything was perfect until humanity sinned and messed everything up. But there's good news. But I got to share the bad news first. Everyone is a sinner. The Bible says that all have fallen short of the glory of God. All of us have sinned. And what we've earned for our sin is death. Not just physical death, but spiritual death. That means eternal separation from God, who loves you, who created you for a purpose. You're separated from him for eternity in a real place called hell. Guys, hell is not a party either. Hell is a place of punishment and darkness forever. And because of that, we should have an urgency to help people escape from that, because Christ is the escape from that. But here's the good news. The free gift of God is eternal, abundant life through Christ Jesus our Lord. Jesus, the Son of God, came as a human, lived the life that we couldn't, showed us how to live as a Christian, and then took on the sins of humanity and died on our behalf because we deserve to be on that cross that he died on. He's proven victory through his death over sin, death, hell, anxiety, depression, suicide, all of the above, all evil in the world. And he proved that he was God by coming back to life 3 days later after he was buried. That is the good news that I want you guys to share with other people. And as you share, how can you link the gospel to their situation? Are they poor? Are they running low on finances? God can provide for them. Are they depressed? God can provide them hope. Are they anxious? God can provide them security. Do they feel like they're too far gone? God is always pursuing. You can find links from the gospel to people's living situations so that the gospel can apply to them, because the gospel applies to everybody. And the reason I chose